Hey scooters! You already know that the Kaabo Wolf Warrior X and X Pro are great scooters, but did you know they have two flaws? Today we're going to fix them. Scooter. Nearly every review of these scooters mentions these two flaws, and they're both on the right side of the handlebars. The first is the mini motor's throttle controller and the brake lever not sitting well together. When the brake lever is in a good position, the throttle lever is forced to stick upwards at an awkward angle. The second annoyance is the Eco Turbo single dual push buttons. There's no indication to show what is selected by looking at the switches. Here are the fixes. We've created a metal plate to locate the controller in a more comfortable position, and we've added toggle switches instead of the press buttons. Continue watching to see the steps for doing this yourself. Okay, let's jump into fix 1. As you can see, the normal angle between the throttle lever and the brake lever is quite large. This is because they clash together at this point. We're going to disconnect the controller from its mounting and make a metal plate to span between the two. This will allow us to position the controller in a more comfortable position. We're wanting to move the controller up so it fits in behind the brake lever, and across so the throttle lever doesn't clash with the brake lever. In selecting your final controller position, you might rotate it clockwise slightly so your index finger can reach the controller. I started with a 25mm wide galvanised strap that was 1mm thick. I positioned the controller where I wanted it and made sure the strap would cover the 4 screw locations needed. My first cut was at an angle along the bottom here, and the second cut squared it up against the mounting edge. At this point I held it in place and drilled 2 holes by pressing the bit through the mounting bracket holes. Then I used a pen on the back to mark a fold line and bent it slightly. Finally I trimmed the top edge in the curved shape to match the controller plastic and marked and drilled those 2 holes. From the back it looked like this. And that's it! From the side you can see the controller sits down behind the brake lever, reducing the awkward angle. I painted it black to match the scooter, and you'll see the final look at the end of this video. Now to fix number 2. Unplug and unscrew the button unit from the scooter. Now you can either work directly on this one or buy an identical replacement unit from AliExpress. Either way, unscrew the 4 little screws at the back and put them aside. Inside you'll see 2 little PCB mounted push buttons. You'll need to clip these off the circuit board. Apply some solder over the remaining stubs. Now take your chosen toggle switch and note that when the actuator is pointing down, the upper 2 connections become connected. We'll be connecting these 2 upper connections to the circuit board. Snip off the unused connection and grind it flat using a grinder. Tin the middle connection. Locate a stiff wire and tin it too. Solder the wire to the switch. It should look like this. Solder the top end of the switch to the PCB first. Make sure you're happy with the switch location, then solder the wire connection to the PCB as well. Repeat for the other switch. The end result should look like this. Use a sharpened screwdriver to punch around the rubber blip on the inside of the rubberized switch cover. It's best if the hole is slightly too small, as it will stretch nicely over the switch. Place the rubber cap over the switches. Add the washers and ring nuts and check it all fits nicely. Before screwing it all together, add some 5-minute epoxy to ruggedize the switch connections. And finally, add the screws back and refasten it to the scooter handlebars. And here's the end result. It's easy to control both brake and throttle levers comfortably, and both switches are easy to reach and to see where they're set. That's all for today, and happy scooting!